가르쳐다지 spiritual 된지기 가르쳐지 초나로 지라 명아로 토고 데레스 계속 그냥 핑당할 내용은 안돼서 너무 소성도 마치 그냥 소리야 예 자가디 내당 같이 인비 information 스타라면 대가서 토에는 다 그냥 주 고타주 치초 제만에 인디아 가서 지와 유고 전점자 되게 되 많아서 됐어.
So, most probably, none of you have come here for picnic. If you came for picnic, maybe it's not the right place to come. But you came for another purpose. We all came for another purpose, a spiritual purpose. To find a kind of a spiritual experience. So for that, and for that purpose has to be the primary purpose. And then on the way, all these things like cold and stomach and all these problems is a kind of a part of that journey. It's an experience. So for instance, you go somewhere and then you have to travel through aeroplane, through train, through cars. So there are lots of things you go through, but those are just part of the journey, and that's not the main purpose. So the main purpose of coming here is the spiritual experience. So therefore, I think this is what we have to understand. We have to kind of see the purpose, why we are coming here, and then try to work on that. If anybody came here for a picnic, then better look more carefully at the tour guide.
아니, 바랑 안 한다고 참 있나? 도지델레도 this share share 참아 자가를 소소로다 에너지 가서에 주윤다 장원을 체 lots of attendance lots of good food 봐 아니 should 장원서 지지도사 내래서도 산다 지 재미는 섬시다 이내 섬시다 용문도 스타 용아도 조지 야가로 체 아니 망보지 차이에 비인자 변하지 밀리추시아 미토데시아 망보시 차이에 비인자 되게 디제로도 참sam지 나로잖아 성서로 제가 정도다 참사 괜찮은데 나로잖아 디지 가서에 야버지 용사래지 되지 가서에다 오늘 알아 비하를 랩대베 따지 땡고도상 구주주의 잔면은 하지다 비하를 내면 하고도 저하를 비유사 비하를 랩에 따지 땡고도 성고도 되네 대 용금에도 상상 안들이 유산 삼성하고 가서에 되게 소소의 셈리야 가와던 조아한테 캠비가 참바 잡이네 대바 겐더지 마도 대 동에 지쳐 안에 소소지 이비네야 야 되게 세세 아 차라서 남무 주마도 이나 가서 장다 아버체 가리 이비네야 뒤균 가서에 그냥 지게래 대변은 신들베 가서에다 방아치하면 델레스르사는 같이 크둠 너둠 겹 라면 제고로 마도 비게 되는 시지인데 가서에 파양 붙이지 집이미나 아니 나서 먹은 거야 아닌 거 알아 추대서 잠시나요만 드리르사는 소소죠 상도 잡았어 이미네야 오늘 주도 드리시다 안 단도되지 모두가 this day 전화서 정도 따이네 좁을 오고요 아주 this
So I also, when I come to Bodh Gaya, I also have a little bit, what can you say, fear.
worried.
I'm a little worried that I might get, sick or I might get cold and all those things. And generally, I have many attendants and good food, and so, and here it's not so much. But you know, I don't really worry too much because I have so many things to do here. I have to teach and many things. And so therefore, when you are busy with these things, you kind of forget about these things, you know, what might happen and not happen. And sometimes I even feel that, or wish that I should get some sickness. Because then, you know, I would feel that I'm really in Bihar. Then it will kind of make me feel really, truly that, you know, the signs of being in Bihar. But then it does not often happen. But I feel that when you actually, your mind is really happy in the right kind of state, in a joyful way, even if you have certain, you know, discomforts, it can sometimes become like an ornament, not really making you suffer too much. But this does not mean to say that you should get sick. You should not get sick, so please be careful because, you know, it's not the same. You know, here in Bihar, in India, is not same that in your countries. So therefore, you have to be, you know, you can't do everything that you did there. You know, you have to be careful what you eat and, you know, how you act and things like that. So you must take care about your health. There's another question. Is it really possible to become compassionate by simply deciding to be? That you can test whether it works or not.
You mean 지단기 고랑 가수에 타주 제거하다 개정을.
But it is really important to decide from the beginning.
이내 얘네하고 윤선상보다 로리야 뭐 개를 채네. 가수 니집에 개를 니지 사변비 니지 개를 채. 디네베 가로지 레드스탄 다 개고래다 말했어. 가수라 다지. 티좀 둥균기 티좀 산. 바지 개 미진이기는 바지 개 고래 채냐만 나오지. 근데 이제 티좀 싸가면 근데 이거는 봐 다주시고 아, 이제 다주에 개심을 해요. 이미는 얘네 다주에 제가 잡시기는 요한도 가라 하셔. 가래서는 디 잠니지 거와도 되지 내가 넣으시마로 내가로 지미는 다 직디 지기 인스 봐 다주 제잖아. 지금 좋은 지 les어요. 잠니지 사데 7월 7일 레서를 제하를 고 자라는 수사스게. 이 집이 유리 깨버쳐. 유리 깨버쳐 버려. 가서 이제 림버티소 가서 남기 림버티소가 내내야 문주 림버티소 내내야 당시 아니 비유는 오늘 참에 니지 누구야 사면으로 비해서 인지 자유케서.
Although this making decision is important, but it seems that first you have to understand, first you have to reason, you know, why it is important to have compassion and why do we need to be compassionate. So this understanding becomes very important. Unless you have that understanding, if you just say that I will be compassionate is not enough, because it's not same, that, you know, like compassion and things like that is not same as doing something, doing some work, for instance. So if I have to do something, then I say I will do that, and then you just do it, you know, you go ahead and do it. But this is not work, it is an attitude, it's a way of feeling. So therefore, it is not something you just say, I will do it and then it happens. It has to be based on a clear understanding why and how it should be. And you know, so when you have that understanding, you develop that reasoning why it is so important to be compassionate and why it is necessary to be compassionate. And then maybe you arrive at a place where, you know, you have like a more positive doubt that there is a choice, you know. If I'm compassionate, it will be like that. If I'm not compassionate, it's like that. And it is maybe more important, it's more better to be, I feel, it is necessary, there is some necessary to be compassionate. And then when you have that understanding, and that's the time you need to decide, yes, that's right, I should really be. And not just like that.
Yeah, more.
No. How do you explain reincarnation to people who are completely unfamiliar with Buddhist logic and teachings or concepts? No. What is exactly transforming emotions in Vajrayana? For example, how do we do it in Shenesic sadhana and practice?
Okay. 상계의 최 사야돼 가서 심규 tim세와 차버지래가 최스기에 인자 상계의 최 차시에르네 배 가서 녀무면녀버리면도 maybe 자완이 maybe 말했어.
So Buddha Dharma is to clear all the impurities of the mind. So therefore, there is nothing in the Dharma which is not directed to clear or to purify our kleshas, the negative emotions and disturbing emotions. There's nothing in the Dharma that's not, directly an antidote for the negative emotions and kleshas.
대래 참섬 가셔야지 뇌샤래야베 도도 가 참섬 도도 가서므로 뇌샤 하는데 도탄이 가 도도 쓰면서 가셔야 왜 도탐보체 도탐보체를 뇌샤 도탐보체를 막아야 참섬량 고 뇌샤 네 당 시당 도탐보체를 가 디가냐 참섬 공도 시에 녀모니부 되래 띠무 토도가 토탐보체를 가 좀 어려우니까 좀 봐. 드레인 주사는 거라 가서다 녀모 숨들이야 급소소리야 그러고 로이 유바다 뒤인데 아니 준비 체제 거라 가서야 녀는 지나 주요라서.
So but then sometimes in some teachings the attachment is the kind of main target, or it's very strongly dealt with or worked on the attachment. And sometimes the main kind of practice or the main target is the aversion or anger and hatred. That is the main target, and that is the most important thing to deal with. And then sometimes it's not these two, but the ignorance as the main kind of practice, and then you deal with or work on the ignorance as the main thing. So according to the stages and according to the different type of teachings or different people's kind of needs, there are different, practices or different
degrees.
Different kind of methods are used at different teachings and levels.
그래서 내당부 지당 토는 시험이나 미망부지기 내당부부터 좀 뇌샤래야. 그래서 용모를 야 유여체 용모를 봐 저주 수도 저연에 유여트치아데 직송을 안해서 엔다나신 양코 가라간 좀지 레듀스는 용모보다 반증 방자의 년부 유제는 반증아지 송을 안해서 되는 가라간 좀 순주사는 그 유제는 로인류밥에 수술을 숙침보충을 거면 하버도 싫고 탑시배 탑시 용조를 차연주사 용모보거나 조수구니 파 가서야지 용모보 조수구니 대표주다 지수를 알았어 근데 인주사는 뒤준세는 되네 용모보 사대 가서야지 도도를 제가 강가로 뒤지려야 가와스케 요만했어 조조다 수술로 연구가 되네 얘네 아주 방스 수술이야 조다 용모 독성 되기들이야 근데 준비해 제제 그 스텝 바이 스텝 상만 공부를 리시도 보여줘 아주 보수지 이거 알았어.
So generally speaking, there are three ways of dealing with the mind poisons. In the first, for the beginners, we try to evade. We try to kind of evade from the mind poisons, not get attracted to that, or kind of go around it and not get too much involved with that, to run away from that. That's the first stage. And second is to actually fight against it, like really waging a kind of war on it, So therefore you really challenge it and work directly with it. That's the second stage. And then the third stage is when your wisdom becomes much more clearer, much more stronger. And then you use the skillful means. And at that time, when you are much more stronger, that you can actually challenge and kind of and make war on this, attack the negative emotions. Then you find a way to even use that as a friend. You take it not as an enemy, but take it as a friend, and then use it in a certain way that it can become very skillfully used to work with it. So therefore, there are different levels, different stages, and this one has to work on it step by step.
Sorry. Döshale ye kaza ji shebe le nyusan de döshada de to so zhi ge zhengme le so de nyusan da ba ji chwa de le de de ye xia de teaching de ba ji de chang sa.
So yesterday also we talked a little bit about this attachment. So maybe how to work with this attachment and anger and different kind of negative emotions. So I will talk a little bit about this, and maybe this question can become the subject of my teaching this morning.
Kasin dösha she ju sa ne dösha sa de be khashu re ji tam jing jing de ji yo re sa de khare sa na pasin dösha de mang se dösha ga shi ngo de ya pa ji be da bu ja ran ji bu le ya wang ya ge sam de shu shum sta ya re ane ji ran ji bu le ya di yi dong wa de ran ji bu ma xin da ji le ra bi na lo ma de ya yi le de me ga de yo.
Yesterday, when I talked about the attachment, I said that the attachment has something like a closing thing, like a holding on strongly, like a clinging, something like of clinging. That is because attachment has that aspect that this is something very nice. I must have it. And I alone must have it. Nobody should have it, or others should not get it. I should get it. It should be completely mine. So therefore, there's this, that aspect is naturally comes with that the sense of attachment.
Bana sazani do jiyemina. Digi khashwe Tinan da bena ji kyoga do di da gemen shindajilia geshebina. De jiang gemen a jidang de me gemen sa da inga gemen sa ci de sha gao me da. Ta ga de lao da bu me sa de men zhuo. De ju san di de le ya an de ji du de ma lo ji le ya geshebina. Oh, se no ma ga de zhuo. Di ge zhe xie. De le ya ge zhe mang bu xie de chi ju san. De sem le ya Madevan Rochi, the Gazasian, Digime, Sosaro, Chedongan, Solomadana, similar, Ranshin, Gigi, Sadajiki, some of the Magara to the Yod. The name Santana, Tidi, Baji, Design. One Chane, near Sambalia, Zawa Sad, Mijil, Zawa Chadi, one at Sesam Yavina. Midi Zesam Yavina, Zesam Chishu, Ranwan Jayat. Mother Midi Dart of Sony Bay, Kobe, Kyotan Gamidia, Zesam, just a line. Zesam Winne Chavina, Kuyante. Marazawa Yavi Zingi, Delea Be Kang, Deva, Kang Gueva, Telenia, Maranginia, the Guevalea, Kasui, Ishe, Telea, Tizo Guevalia. 아주 잡교르시 근데 자지래 자와서도 마도 소수 마도 이제 상월로에 고르지 받담 소수 되바는 시 그렇지 고여만 그렇지 근데 자데 자왕원에 저 아이네스 근데 자왕원에 예비나 거 가서에 구양해야 돼 봐. 표양해야 돼 그렇지 버지고 그랬어 근데 충분히나 거 자와서 버지 가서에 지당 체는다 두규 그 사상으로 체제도 사는 거 다도 숨니 그러나 가서 신다 파시하는 배랑 아주지 균노르티서 있네야 수수 균노르티서 있네 단들 때야 인다 체배 서이 겸담을 제사 다도 숨어를 제디 이미네 셈을 땐데 가서 구양의 남바지 매비미나 배는 되샤 런시 배 세베 런시 슈츠버 차비미나 김사대 디지시랑 깔아 하시라네 그래서 지기질이야 담당 진진을 쌓는 뇌마다 민주산 다 근데스 가서 다지 대지 치료리아 치미네 지 마데야로지 신다를 그세비나 마데야로지 뇌어리도 민주산 디균세를 때네 구양사디 자왕문의 여비미나 딜라 강가와다 강 끼버디 나서봐 구양한테 리게데 샤드를 지고 알았어 근데 민주산 디균세를 때네 뇌사 지단기 가서에 근데 사상핀주의 미네야 뇌사 관에베 냠도 대비미나 기분 안 가라 합샤です가서에 장화매베 소리는 진짜 많이 먹고 구양 반야로 지단기 르미 동화신이 예버체 자와진이 예버체 이베이네야 아니 셈리야 빈주지 지기질 자와 예비 균진데 자와 인비 균진을 때네 구양자야지 디기다 자와 사디 소소리야 강거바 나라 디고도 네 로라 파바사 디조메 디기다 디랑왕데 조체 균제디 조체제 아주 구양지 때비나这把针对上제가 근데 체장 아주 좋아다 이겼습니다.
So, if I give an example, suppose there is a couple and they are in love and they are kind of together, and then suppose one of the couple, say the husband, is seen talking to another lady like more beautiful, then what does the wife think? You know, even if she doesn't say something, she kind of feels, And then that is like attachment, it's coming from the attachment. The love, attachment is something that is, me is the most important. It is for me, it's my own. I own this. It doesn't give freedom. It's like closed. It's like not allowing space. The love is not like that. Love is giving freedom. It's not just I want it and I like it. This is only for me. It's not like that. It's more giving freedom. It's wanting, the happiness or the joy for the others. Whatever the one whom you love wants, that you support and that you try to give that person. It's not that sometimes then attachment also happens that this is my person or this is my love and my wife or my husband. So therefore he or she should do whatever I want him or her to do. He should say and do things that they have to do according to my way. That is not, that's also kind of attachment because it's me and, it has to be under my control and within my way of doing and, as I want it. So there's no freedom. There's no, of course there has to be, when people get married, for instance, then there is a sense of mind, there's a sense of togetherness, there's a sense of belonging. You also want to give him or her all your belongings and you make even signs that everything I own is owned by the both and things like that. But then it's not just like craving only. It's not only mine, but and if you do that, if that is the attitude, then it is very, very difficult to have a happy life together. Because both is only thinking of me. And so therefore, what I want and what I own. And then it's not giving space and freedom to each other. So therefore, the love has to be more freedom and giving and allowing each other with that sense of belonging and also the love, but at the same time, giving freedom and openness. So therefore, this, if you understand like that, then I think you will understand the problem of attachment. And then you can see, the love and attachment can be understood in a proper way.
시당시 가셔야지 콘도사를 잘 유사래 아주지 가셔야지 시당 이나 시당고 넘규세고 스타트 그거 넘규데 가셔야지 바다 연륜에 커야지 줍주라고디 오늘 교육도 하고 문세대로 그에게 현샤라고디 견샤라고디 문세대로 스타트 지 바다 연륜에 커야지 넘규되나래 깨지시나 되게 참만 줍주지 이거지 줍무이 버지 아주 남상 세브를 하고도 근데 뒤에 비긴센데 코디즈 가서 갑 뭐셔야지 시당기 가서 줍무디 봐 뭐셔 내나버지 이나야 다디만 한테 자디 덴덴 가서야 되지 데즈 가서야지 쇠바상만 띵즈 가서야지 수수 경험들어지 디지 경험상만 다 디지 셈리야 깨를 첨부해야죠. 아주 벽에 깨를 첨부해야죠. 되고 가르스나다 참성 아주 공로를 제대로 하는 미신아 녀비를 시직 제대로 되는지 가서야 민진들이 아시에도 소소가 다지 셈리야 좋아 차오는데 다지 마시에 니 나베 민용주 사람 다 하다 나래야 그 예주시에도 소소를 잘해서 되지 가서 나게 차데 왜 말을 지금 제가 가서 삼서 통역도 봐. 근데 유산 디준세는 때네 가서 디 왜봐 이마 통하데 가서 디스강에를 쳐. 삼서 오늘 왜봐 이마를 단디 안예주시에도 제사 코로나데 왜봐 이마 디 통하디 시당은 유산 카데자의 갈아가셔도 되죠. 다 이면은 개치슈디 가서에 가서다지 시당이야 카데자 콘투스도산 카데자들이야 카데자다 마우샤요. 삼삼 소수의 랑도기 카데자 모도비네 랑도기 혼년부 대신 카데자 모도비네 뒤주면이네 지잖아 라마 소수기 구르에 라마 닝니 구르에 라마로 붙이기 찬시 디 교람에 나게 맞지 콘트 맞지 송조 섭사로지 디 급디비산 람상 섬을 제로하셔비나 세상 안한 그 구르에 라마 디데 송조 쌈 텔라마 칸도 excuse 붙이는 되는지 쌈 데즈마 시war래 야나 소수기 가셔를 수럽 소수 가셔의 수럽 잡지 나로네 어떤 애들이 송샤 세상아 증미 소소하지 단 도나지 소수기 자와요 가와요 진짜지기 채도 삼단 유산에 뒤기 dom도디 현도를 되네 갑자기 돼야지 용의에 소시
The aversion or aggression is basically getting anger, and that's very clear because when you get anger or aggression, then you make a very clear expression, either by your face or your body language or your speech. It becomes very kind of a rough way of acting. So therefore, it is not difficult to recognize the anger or the aggression when it comes up, aversion. It is easy to recognize this emotion. It's very not so difficult to recognize this. But as regards to how to work with it, how to find antidotes to that, then we said that we have to use patience. But then sometimes we have this feeling that this person did this negative thing to me, and so therefore he insulted me, or this did this and that. So therefore I have a right to be angry. I have to, I must. It's good. I have the, it's right to be angry and to be aggressive because of these reasons. So when you have that kind of a way of seeing, then it is very difficult that I find myself as the most difficult to deal with regarding the aggression, because you find it very reasonable. You find it that you really need to react in this aggressive way or an angry way. There are of course many different ways of dealing with that. And sometimes, if you cannot directly work on it with your own understanding or with your own, if you have your own understanding why I should not, be aggressive and angry and aversion very clearly, then it's very good. But if we can't do that, sometimes it works if I can think about some other reasons or some other ways, like excuses in a way. That if suppose I have a very genuine master, a lama, and then immediately when I get aggressive or angry, And then I think about that. I think about that Lama and said that this Lama, told me not to get so much angry and things like that. So therefore, when I can think about that and when my attention is kind of diverted to that, sometimes, it gives me it gives me a good, time or good effect that I can work, I can let go of the anger. And also, like instructions, good books. If I have a certain instructions or certain books or certain, teachings, that's very impressive or that's very, very true or that inspires me a lot. When I can think about those also, it helps me.
당원에 드레주사는 콘도스안데 미버치게 토네베 균년의 콘도스안 아우샤요. 콘도베 축축셔. 드레주사 인지 미버르도 카페시 로토가 시작했어. 드레주사 콘도 미버치게 토네야 콘도사용도나. 내게는 콘도사를 망하지바 되네. 가서 드네 안 되지 드미도 내지 콘도사고도 주소도 되지 망설을 써야지. energy control ji se an thama reduce an so so ga lai ba ka shui ji ge min de so so ro ji di de ji sam ro da ji ji kan do la ji khong zhu di mi bu ji ge din do be khong zhu mu tu de sa mo ju xie ji ga sa yi sa le ba de ne an ji min de so so ro ji khong zhu sa sa ma bu se sha yin na an khong zhu sa de ji ge do ni ba do do ro ji ge ji mo tu bi ni sa na ni bu ji ge ne ni ba tempo de ju mo tu na cha re and control teleden less so matters. Shama mibachi dolia, contribute union of Chibina, and control charo, and Karina magic chenduelang, Yunga, no Yu Tolia, Bea, Nigers.
Another thing that helps me a lot is not to allow to focus only on one point or one personal incident. Like usually, we get angry about something, and then our mind is totally concentrated or focused on that. And then we again and again think, how bad that is and how negative that is, and so we are only on one point, and then our anger becomes stronger and stronger and stronger, and then we have to do something about that and act something. So instead of focusing on one thing or one point, if we can kind of divert, if we can let our mind feel the same with other things, kind of shift our attention or focus on many things, even with anger. For instance, I'm angry at this point, and then I say, this is also not right, so I'm angry at that, and that is also not right. So my anger can go to many places, then on myself too, and then on. So when that happens, even if on anger, even the concentration or kind of emotion is anger, if I concentrate or focus on so many things that I'm angry about, then somehow my anger becomes kind of less because it's not solid, it's not, focused on one thing, so it doesn't continue with that. So therefore, after some time, you kind of, your mind is kind of there's so many things that you kind of need to be angry about, that you don't need to be too much angry about that particular thing. So therefore, it's very important that we kind of try to shift our focus of the concentration from one point or one person to many other things, and that I find it very useful.
And umadi miji ko karsura daji lu bangbo jianes ta lu na lu khashe ji ko lu tisu khala mani oma shorba oma shogu du sa lu tisu khala mani phaza ke de ko be phong do san de be lu khashe dong du san ta ko lu chang wa jik dong she de san chang wa zhuo zhuo wa de ko ji kong de shi de san ka sa yi sa dong de lu chang lu jia cha ma be de san ngo zhu 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 de dong shi de khorang ka le kan bi ge 가서지 우르지 해야 그랑 콘로시 대승산 게모르지 게데르스 드네 두산 되는시 루카시지 마다면다 그거 동네 바지 세지 아닌가 다 루자차만 버스도 수두산에 다 갈라가서 동네다 가랑 갈래르지 가는데 그게 예대라네 되는시 가서지 가서 콘로시 찡서두산 그 템버르시 가서 있어 서두산다 지제디제르면 다 가랑 하는 내 대야르시
There was one man, a kind of shepherd, and then he had lots of sheep to look after. And these sheep were not, doing what he wanted. He had to milk those sheep, and then they didn't kind of behave very well. So they were, running around and, jumping and things like that. So it was very difficult for him. So he was very angry. So he hit the sheep. He hit the one sheep, and then all the other sheep got even more wilder. So he hit many sheep. So, he was beating the sheep, but when he beat like 50, 60 sheep already, he got so tired that he was like, he was exhausted. And then he was a little bit angry with himself. And then he had to laugh, and he just, he had to give up being angry too much with the sheep. So if he had only one or two sheep, maybe he would have been so angry that he would have, beat them to death maybe. But because there are so many and he had to concentrate on so many, that he couldn't continue to be, angry. So it's a little bit like that, So if we kind of divert our attention of anger to many things or to many areas, then, that can also help us to let go. How can we understand the ultimate nature if we only have the tool of relative? And that
구조 되면 내려다 전화가 되면 또 나 구조가 이게 다 되려야 배랑 아주 되다 구조 공부를 되네 곧 한다면 되면 드시겨 배랑 아주 되다 ben 딩중기 근세할 때네 그랑 가셔야지 된다면 드시기 안 하지 용용이요래 다들 딩중사데 구조부터 하는 바 계셔라 된다면 아주 딩중기 대화는 인사데 딩중스는 사는 통문을 되는 정보를 되는 통 다자 통문 이마 되고 정보지 여발 되는 그 통문을 샤버로 마도 정보 매매 통시 용다며 안에 통문대야 정보를 되는 샤데 샤론자 초시 이게 샤라 되는 가서 다지 샤라 되는 노 호라 되는 장사를 다들 내가 봐줘 샤를 연구로 드리주사 디규젠데 떼서 떼죠 토네 요한의 요인도사 디규젠데 지게 죄는 떼바 인상 라와요 라와사데 라와도 주버지요 아주 데 프리덤 사데 자 인생마다 라와도 주버사데 그런 가셔지 자완이는 마되버체 피니스 가셔 아주 때다지 가셔야지 파 부모들지 통연주상 부모사데 나수에 파 부모세 쪼다와다 나수에 파지 부모세제 가 쪼다와 되는 마되바 부모사데 유경원의 수에 삼아든지 아주 로래야 샤요 그냥 원리주 토래야 나수에 쪼다와디 매입니다 아 부모사데 유경원의 수샤데 매입 배나다당 아주 여기 가셔야지 배나 파버지 나로래야 그래서 추지 루입니다 추드 루벌에 대 추드 루或者추교 tun지 니버지요 버지당 안가수에 가서 그런 추교와 통 대체 이상 아주 추보로 제제가 민으로부터 가서 돌아 다에 두사 추보시 유기 그 주도 나 하나씩 야 동계 뒤수산 뒤가려야 자주 루상 난 거기 추보의 잡아차 대용도 와 내 주산 뒤준산 때네 때네 당번이 비주전 때네 라오도 줘봐야 말이지 라오도 줘봐야 동번이 써야 돼 동번 써야 돼 장황 그 유경원의 주변 동 아주 가서 딘중 낭점这个对呢对吧zam시了对呢그 낭점 쉬운 거 배는 아주 여기 주난 거 나와디 주난 거 나와디 나외 그 나와디 그 유경원의 주 나외 나와 상 다 대한 거라 난가는 더 수요야 와다 에너지 가서 와라 추야 와다 안 추이나도 되는 더 수셔롱이 봐 아서 교긴데 망부저 처벌해야 댄시 다외 손이 샤워를 마도 되게 딘중기 코럼 찍어 매미나 다외 손이 샤워를 말이지 드리주산 딘주산을 때네 그런 딘중이 말을 때네 돈이 샤대 돈이 쓰려서 동바사야 되고 가리나야 가서지 정신 초토도 좋으면 가리나야 낭도로 인상 동바래 동바 인상 동바 고마가바 소마라 진짜지 이비 인상 된주고 나와나도 차도록 차대요 알았어 드레이비 인두산에 배는 가수기 배는 오면 가실래야 두 여베도 돼요 아래 오면 가실但是呢그 두个人心都그런 유기문에 두个人心都出되어 있습니다 그 두个人心一把车就得되어 있습니다 미래이나 두 네베人心的요거래 심신 신달에 네베人心的요거因为呢，心신달에 되게 패배 정신이 교도하다. 에너지 밀려 서봐라 내배 정신이 교도하다. 그거는 유기문에 두사 내배 정신이 속도도 주대বে 速度 받지 매워치. 지금 유기 망고지를 때려서 가시를 도도상 가시를 면도 차. 다들 용어들이 어디들이 유사 디준사를 때 속도도 매워. 뭐여 거리면 근데 지금 돈다. 너랑 아주 군수 딘디기 남지 안 되려야 되네. 동번이 사디 지 과를 내주상 과샤를 안도 마다 꾸주 딘디기 남사데 파방네 동번이 사지 과래야 버지면 대 과래야 차단 유한이나 가면 해버지야 동번이 레슬라샤 대 최탐제게 러시 동번이인데 최탐제 다다 아주 미기 돈을 고 동번자래도 나고 아주 섬은지 이제래도 그라 동신도 낭낭신 동대야디 왜 가서 디베 터돌리 집에 가셔야 돼. 원사심부터 데려다 와. 인주산 띵중기 준센의 상당히 인주산 안 동분이 돼. 삼토가지 용거를 삼토.
Of course, you have to understand ultimate truth through the relative truth. Otherwise, there is no basis to understand that. Now, this we have to. When we talk about the ultimate nature of things, it has to be understood through the interdependence nature. Through, for instance, everything is dependent, interdependent. For instance, when you say or when you think about something short, then it is relative to the long. Something is shorter than that. It's related to something else. And if you say this is long, then also there is something, there must be something that is shorter than this. So therefore that is long. It doesn't exist anything called short or long on its own. Short and long are relative to others. So in the same way, when you think about east, we say east because there is west. And west is based on the east. So in the same way, south and north and all other things. So there is nothing that cannot be established. Anything cannot be established unless we, kind of base it or we relate it to something else. So therefore, everything is interdependent. Like for instance, we say this is something like a cup or a vase or something like that. Also, for us, generally, we feel that vase or that thing is there on its own. But when we think about vast, unless we make this designation that there is a vast, the vast doesn't happen. We first say this is vast. There has to be vast like this. So this is the vast, and then the vast. So there is lots of attribution or contribution from our side. Designating the vast is creating the vast itself. So therefore, when, for instance, we put water in it, something, and then it becomes the water container water bowl or something like that. And if you put tea in a bowl, and then that becomes the tea bowl or tea cup or something like that. So therefore, it was not tea bowl or not water bowl before we put water or tea. So it's dependent. So that kind of, dependently arising and dependently designated. So when we talk about emptiness, we are talking about the interdependence, so dependently arising, dependently designated. And if there is no, because there is nothing which is existing on its own, which is kind of independently existing, without, related to, or without some kind of designation, or without many other parts or many other conditions coming together, dependently arising. Therefore, the nature of things is emptiness. When we talk about emptiness, it has to be based on the understanding of the relative things. Even when we say, the reflection of the moon, the water moon, the water reflection of the moon on the water. And now that is the moon that's reflecting the water is kind of not existing on its own. We can see that there is nothing there. But then that happens also because of many reasons. It's an interdependent arising. There has to be the moon in the sky, there has to be the water there has to be, the reflectability of that in the water. And so when all these things come together, then you see the reflection of the moon in the water. So therefore, that is emptiness. Emptiness and interdependence has to be together. Because everything is interdependently arising and interdependently designated, and there is nothing existing on its own independently, therefore the nature of everything is emptiness. But because everything is emptiness, therefore, everything is interdependent. Everything is possible. Therefore, that is the emptiness and interdependence kind of go together. And also, we think that everything is just as it is that we see there, but it's not always like that. When we think about even like poison, we say poison is very dangerous and very bad. It's very negative, something poison. But there are lots of poisonous plants that if you eat, if a human being eats, they will die. But if some other animals eat, they don't die. It doesn't become, it is not a poison to them. So therefore, is that poison or poisonness is really existing on its own. If it exists as it's on its own, then it should be, killing everything. But it doesn't necessarily kill everything. So therefore, nothing is there on its own as it is. It's all interdependent and it's all, dependent and arising. And therefore, there is ultimately its emptiness. So therefore, if we don't combine these things together, understand this in this way, the emptiness or the ultimate truth is understanding of the relative truth and how we actually understand the relative truth. If we don't do that, then if ultimate truth has to be something separate and something totally, not based on the relative truth, then that becomes like a nihilism. It's something out there, everything is not there, something like that. So this is not the case. It has to be And that is the wonder, that is the most wonderful thing, is this togetherness. The things are, empty in its nature, but it's interdependently arising, and therefore it's empty. And so therefore anything is possible. So that is the most wonderful, nature of things.
Last question. Yeah. Last question is empty.
So that's maybe all now.
Oh yeah.
There are more questions, of course.
Yeah, maybe this is not last questions. There are more questions. Okay. Sarvapapasya karanam kushalasya upasampada swarchitta parayavatapanam etat buddhanam shasanam taragati tipo maya vasyaya buddham savanam cha vidyuddha pramcha evam dashravya sanskritam anena punayena tu savadrashita mavapya nirijitya chadosh vidivesha chararoja miri